So the engine behind me has a fire suppression system installed, and I've actually got a personal story I want to share with you about that. When I was at type training, one of my fellow pilots was doing a single engine approach. He had already shut down one engine. Coming in, the instructor decided to have a little bit of fun with him, throw on the fire light, and this is a flashing light that comes on. And the first thing that a pilot wants to do is press the button, thinking there's an engine fire. It actually may not be an engine fire, it may just be the bleed air leak simulating that. So he went ahead, he threw that button. Basically, what happens, it shuts the fuel off to it, firewall cut off, the engine shuts down. Turn that plane into a glider. Now, he actually made it down to the ground, but he's a few hundred feet short of the runway. The instructor was looking at him like, why on earth did you do that when you've got a fire and you're already on a single engine approach? Just let it burn, fly it to the ground, and get down safely. While we were up taking our video flight, I had our daughter in the back seat with us. She happened to look outside the window. Somewhere after takeoff, she noticed that our fuel cap was just slightly open on the top.
Fuel tank unlocked. Go back around land.
So what we did is we turned around, came back in for a landing, got that fixed up before we went up to altitude for our video. When we were coming in for landing, it got me thinking and discovered a unique capability of this aircraft.
20,
Now, I'm going to say don't try this at home. It's
10,
not something that it's certified to
5,
do.
2,
If you think about it, a GA aircraft, flying Part 91, can take off with 0 visibility. It means absolutely no visibility whatsoever on the ground. And what happens if something like that or something worse with an engine or any other issues happens in flight and you need to turn around and you need to land? Most aircraft don't have that option. You're not going to know when you're getting close to the ground. But because of the capabilities and features that have been upgraded on this aircraft, it actually is able to do that. And the way that we found is that with the G600, you've got synthetic vision, and then you've got a redundant system on the co-pilot side with synthetic vision. And what you're doing is you're going down on an ILS, let's say, get to 200 feet for your decision altitude. And then from there, as long as you stay on a stabilized glide path, straight in, you can use your dual synthetic visions, keeping yourself aligned with the center line of the runway. And then this plane has a radar feature for landing height.
20, 10, 5, 2, 1.
So it tells you how far off the ground you are, starting at 200 feet in increments down all the way to 10 and then 2 feet. So you can use that to help decide your flare point. And then also right before your touchdown, make sure that you're settling in nice and straight. Other aircraft that's actually capable and able to do that is a Cat 3 aircraft, and it has to be in an airport that has the proper equipment on the ground for that. So if you're flying and you have a pilot emergency, that's really the only situation that I would ever condone anything like this to even consider doing it. But you've got the option or the capabilities to get yourself safely on the ground, even up to 0 visibility. Now, most airplane owners are going to do upgrades over time. In this video, during our flight portion and our ground portion, I want to not only go through and show you the upgrades to not only comfort, but safety and performance of the aircraft. I'm also going to give approximate costs for those upgrades, but ultimately what I want to do is give you an idea of which upgrades have an actual value that they add to the aircraft, because some of them out there, they just cost money and they don't really do anything. I've created the most detailed review video of the Cessna 414A Chancellor, with over 60,000 views already. If you haven't watched it, the link is above in the top right corner or down in the description below. 31,300-foot service ceiling. This aircraft is for sale. If you're interested, you'll find the link down in the description below. The plane behind me is one of those rare planes that has almost all of the important upgrades that have been able to be done to it completed. And what happens when you take an excellent aircraft and add all of those important upgrades, you take that excellent plane and you bring it up to a completely different level. Now, I did a rough calculation. To do these upgrades today, approximately, you're going to have to spend over $500,000. Now, let's take a look at the most expensive upgrade for the airplane. It's from the factory with the TSIO 520NB engine producing 310 horsepower. The most desirable upgrade, at a cost of $220,000, is the Ram 7 engine upgrade. According to Ram, these engines provide an increased climb rate for both single engine and two engine. Also, you have an increase of between 16 to 20 knots on your cruise. And finally, they provide over 300 pounds of useful load increase. It not only includes a 335 horsepower engine, and that's produced at sea level 2,700 RPM. It also includes a Hartzell Scimitar prop, brand new, and a new spinner, as well as a new design on the air intake scoop and larger cowl flap openings. There's a couple additional upgrades inside of the engine compartment that come with that. And I think my daughter's got the other engine open, so why don't we go take a look over there? When you take a look at the engine, you can see that it's actually in really nice condition. There's only about 350 hours on the engines. And when you have such a nice engine like this, you need to make sure that you're maintaining it. There's a few things that have been done to this engine to help with that maintenance process. One of them is the GAMI fuel injectors, so the fully balanced fuel flow by having those installed in all 6 cylinders. You also have a digital engine monitor that covers all 6-cylinder CHTs, EGTs, and the TITs. And finally, probably the least expensive upgrade in this plane, but one of the most important ones, is a full Tannis engine heating system. Not only are you heating the oil pan underneath, there are patches to heat the case and individual probes in each of the 6 cylinders to heat each of the cylinders as well. The thing you want to do to avoid at your best is a cold start. So if you're not in a heated hangar, plugging in this engine heater will keep your engine running really well and save the engine. On the Ram 7 upgrades, a couple of the additions to it are back here. We've got a larger turbo. And then underneath, there's actually a larger intercooler as well. And those are included in that Ram 7 upgrade. This Chancellor 414AW comes with 2 turbocharged Continental TSIO 520NB engines, producing 335 horsepower. The gross weight of this aircraft is increased to 7,089 pounds. With a fuel burn of between 22 to 36 gallons per hour at 25,000 feet for about 6 hours, or 1,170 nautical miles. Using a cruise fuel burn at 25,000 feet and 75%, you can get 230 knots. Also, your takeoff distance is only 1,696 feet, while your landing distance is 1,000 feet, so you can operate in very short runways, but you do need to consider your accelerate stop distance. The service ceiling of this plane is the highest of any piston twin. It's actually higher than even a King Air C90 at 31,350 feet. And also, the single engine service ceiling is very high at 19,850 feet. Most piston twin aircraft, when they're on a single engine at full gross and a hotter temperature day, can't achieve a climb. But if you take a look at these Ram 7 engines on the Cessna 414A, even at 122 degrees Fahrenheit, when it's at full gross, will achieve a climb rate of over 130 feet per minute. Of course, you need to clean up the plane and do a proper configuration to achieve that. We personally designed this beautiful custom leather interior, and I thought we needed to set up a little bit of an ambiance for our video and photos. Tasked my daughter with helping me kind of do a table setting in here, show off these nice tray tables. And considering we're at the hangar and we've got just cookies and chips, I think she did a fairly decent job. She even found some mango chutney, a banana, and honestly, she's been helpful with these videos, and she's a promising and growing student pilot. Hopefully, we'll get her active in some of these videos in the future. Say hi. So we actually personally custom designed this leather interior. We grabbed our tablet, used Procreate, laid it out. Our daughter helped with the design. What we wanted to do is model after a luxury jet interior, something that you're not going to find in the Cessna 414A. It includes real rawhide leather. We did the custom embroidery for the logo on all 4 seats, larger headrests, two-tone color scheme that then flows out to the side panels and incorporates the top in the headliner as well. These seats are actually the 421 style seats. You can see that they've got a collapsible armrest on them. They have a button. You can tilt them and lean them back for comfort in flight. And on top of that, there's a little cubby under each of these seats. If you can take a look down here, let me see if I can reach it without seeing it. So we've got storage under each seat. That's kind of a nice little feature. When we had the carpets done with brand new carpeting, we also had a couple of additions added to it. One is this side stitching to make it nice and clean. And then we also had these runners installed on all 3 sections, which allow for you to pull that out in order to clean up the carpets really easily and to save the original carpets underneath. When designing the side panels, we wanted to kind of blend in the colors, but also choose the colors to give it a larger, airier, wider looking feel to the cabin. As we go up, you can see that it's got this leather covering on all of the plastic pieces, beautiful stitching. There's additional soundproofing inside of this cabin. And then even on the headliners, and you take a look at the vents, the air vents up here, the lights, all of this is in really nice condition. It shows a well-maintained airplane. We've got a few storage compartments in the back area here. There's actually some cup holders and some storage space. This is a kind of cold storage cooler space that you can use. This is a removable that has a cup holder in it and a baggage area. And then also here, it's got tie-down straps for the baggage and a runner so that you can add an additional seat if you need more passenger space. So for those longer flights or the flight with the little ones, one of the nice features of this plane is that it actually has a toilet seat. It's a fully belted seat and can be used in flight if you need it, but all you have to do to use it is lift this up, and then there's a toilet bucket underneath. Do the clip here so we can pull this off of there. It was designed so that you don't have to remove this back part of the seat to use it. There's a track up here that allows for a privacy curtain to be installed, and normally in flight, the seat that I'm in would be pulled forward to make it a 4-seat club seat up front to allow for that privacy area. Would you like to see just how bright a 50,000 lumen LED light upgrade is in an airplane? There are 9 separate lights outside, and all 9 of them have been updated to LEDs. There are 2 significant advantages to this, and especially within the safety parameters. When you have LED lights, the current draw is significantly less, and because of their long life, they can be run all the time, which helps create better visibility in all flight characteristics. Here we have both a strobe and we've got the nav light installed on the wingtips, and then we've got 2 landing lights, one on each wing. These each produce 19,250 lumens. When you add in the taxi light of 11,000 lumens, you're actually at almost 50,000 lumens, which is a really bright light that you can see just about anywhere at night. So in our pitot and static system, primary is our left port here, and then the upgrade is that they've put in a separate one on the right side and adding in 2 static ports per side, and all 6 items being heated means you've got completely redundant capabilities if you were to have any icing, especially at the higher altitudes. That allows for a fully separate independent system. This plane actually has numerous other types of upgrades that aren't specifically related to performance or anything like that, but they're all very beneficial. One of them you'll find up here. Now, I have a story of a captain who was flying a plane like this, had one of these baggage lockers open in flight, and due to the concern of it, he was afraid something would happen with the engine. He actually went and he shut the engine down so that the prop wouldn't hit something. Now, obviously, not something I would have chose to do because this has no effect on that, and that puts you in a tighter situation if you were to have any issues with the other engine. But by having this small upgrade here, which is just a little half turn latch, that gives you one extra layer of protection to keep the baggage doors up front here from opening, and all three of the baggage doors have that. The benefit being, especially on this side of the plane, if this were to somehow open in flight, if you had something in there that was going to come out, it could potentially come up here and hit the windshield. And this particular windshield is an upgraded version with glass. It's about a $30,000 replacement. One other upgrade in here, I'll pop this open, is these shocks. So by having these shocks in here, one thing is it comes open by itself, and the other is the older version had a pin from here to here, and you had to push the clip in order to close it. This one you don't. A lot of people would damage that clip by forgetting to close it. By having this one here, it's much easier to use. So I once had a customer come to take a look at a plane, and he absolutely loved the plane, the interior, the panel, everything. But what he said was if it had a new paint job, he would have bought it right then and there. Because even though the paint theme or the paint condition of a plane doesn't change the comfort, performance, or safety, it is a key factor to consider. When you're looking at a plane such as this type of one, if you were to do a full strip and paint job, you're looking at $40,000 to $50,000. And for a single engine, smaller plane, anywhere from $18,000 to $25,000. But the value that a new paint job adds to a plane is very high. So this plane has a really beautiful paint, and the theme is really nice. It's got 4 colors. All 3 of the accent colors are metallic. Although, of course, I do have to say I'm probably a little bit biased in saying that the previous paint scheme was on our previous plane was a little bit better, being that we personally designed that one. So here's one of our other performance increases is our VG kit. Now, most aircraft like this have this, and the reason for it is because when the airflow is going over the top of the wing, these VGs will keep that airflow attached longer, allowing for a higher angle of attack and lowering your VMC speed, which is important. It's included in the inboard edge of the wings on both sides. I think that this plate is a part of that, but then there are also a set of VGs over on the tail. Now, the other and more important advantage to that on this particular plane is the gross weight increase, about 337 pounds, if I remember right, which means that you can either fly an extra 400 nautical miles in range with fuel, or you can add an extra 2 passengers to your flight. And you get that gross weight increase with either the VGs or with the Ram winglets, but having both of those upgrades doesn't mean that it's going to double that weight. So we actually had perfect timing. We do our IFR certification on the plane. So we've got the nose cone open here in the avionics bay. Can show you a few of the items that we've got up here. The parts for our autopilot. We've got our XM satellite weather data link, and then the components that power our G600, actually including the air data computer. Finally, up here in front of the nose, right up in the cone, is the antenna for our radar weather that actually can be tilted in flight up and down, not even just pointing straight ahead. They also open up the panel back here by the static ports. This is behind the pressure vessel area. You can see just how clean it is back here. No corrosion or anything. Now, most owners take time to do avionics upgrades in their aircraft. The thing is that they're typically very expensive, and some of those expensive upgrades are not very useful. We take a look at the avionics that have been upgraded in this aircraft. We've got some very useful avionics. The cost to do these upgrades is somewhere around $180,000 to $200,000. I want to do things a little bit different in this video, and I want to talk about these upgrades in terms of how they increase safety, increase performance, reduce operating costs, and also lower pilot workload. Let's go through a brief rundown of the main avionics installed in this plane. The Garmin G600 is a primary flight display and a multifunction display, and it includes the synthetic vision upgrade as well. The Garmin GTN 750 and 650 are advanced touchscreen GPS navcoms. The 35C is the remote-mounted version of Garmin's 3D Bluetooth digital audio panel, the 350C. You can see the touchscreen controls at the top of the screen. Our transponder, the Garmin GTX 345, is ADS-B in and out. When connected via Bluetooth to other devices, you see all important details, including traffic and weather. Although I couldn't find a photo of the exact model, this is similar to our Bendix weather radar system, which gives us in-flight weather capabilities. Our autopilot is the S-Tech 60-2, which also features a yaw damper and the updated GPSS roll steering capability. For about $11,000, you can update the autopilot to the latest S-Tech 3100. One of the most important updates I like to have is a digital engine monitor. This plane comes with the JPI EDM 790 and a shade and fuel flow system. Our 4G capable panel-mounted iPad can wirelessly transmit the flight plan data to our primary navigator using FlightStream 510. We have an aural landing height system that's similar to a radar altimeter in advanced aircraft. It's super convenient to sit at home and do your flight plan before you head out to the airport, so I've gone ahead and created one here. I'm going to show you when we get out to the airplane, it'll automatically load for us. Now that we're out at the aircraft, the flight plan that I created earlier is automatically available on our iPad here in the panel. This is a 4G data-capable iPad for about $5 to $10 a month. You can have that package, and with a push of a button, we're going to be able to take that flight plan and load it directly into our navigator. All right, since we've got our avionics powered up, let's go ahead and send this over to the panel. We'll go in here to our flight plan, activate it, and now we've got both our departure and our arrival. It takes literally 2 seconds. You're able to cross-fill any flight plan from your 750 down to your 650 and vice versa. And then in flight, if the co-pilot were to make any changes on the iPad, they're able to transfer those files over the same way and update the flight plan on your 750. Or if the pilot were to make changes on the 750, they can be transferred back to the iPad and updated there as well. This capability is extremely convenient. Let's get our engines started. These super low-time engines start right up and run beautifully. Operating these engines correctly will help them last a very long time, even being able to run beyond TBO. Both very low temperatures as well as high temperatures are bad for piston engines. We have the equipment installed in this plane to prevent both scenarios. Both engines have electric engine heaters in there to help avoid those detrimental cold starts. Although we park in a heated hangar at our home base, when we're traveling in the winter, we'll carry a Honda generator in the nose so we can plug our engine heaters in when we're out on the ramp. The digital engine monitor allows us to manage our engine temperatures and keep our turbo inlet temperature well below the max. With the new hangar going up next door, we've got some stuff sitting next to the taxiway, and there isn't any equipment in the aircraft to help with this, so this is my poor attempt at filming while also guiding from outside. I like how the 750 allows to have the airport diagram right in the panel. It's especially helpful for me in larger, complex airports. Even more helpful is georeferencing, where you can see where you are directly on the taxi diagram. The G600 provides that for the pilot, and the co-pilot has capability as well. This keeps you exactly where ATC wants you. Sometimes even aircraft can hit deer. These LED lights illuminate far enough ahead that you may be able to avoid it. Remember those obstacles from earlier? You can even see those far enough ahead to avoid them. We use the engine monitor to keep an eye on all engine parameters, and especially during takeoff when we're at max power. If there's any issues, it'll flash red. All the airspeeds that you need to remember during takeoff will display in the tape on the G600. That red screen that you see is the terrain system. It's especially useful during takeoff and at night or in terrain. I'm also able to monitor terrain from the right seat. This upgrade here is the RAM winglet upgrade. It takes a Cessna 414A and turns it into an AW model. You can't do this upgrade anymore, but originally, or a couple decades ago anyway, the price point was around $60,000 for this. What it does is it removes the wingtip vortices. It's supposed to increase the performance up in the flight levels. I don't know exact numbers on this particular plane, but if you take something like a CJ, a Citation jet, and you put winglets on it, you're actually looking at about $250,000 for that upgrade, and it increases both the performance of the aircraft and the range. Now, as for the performance increase, I don't know necessarily that the value or the cost of this is worth the upgrade, but for giving the plane a beautiful modern look, it's definitely worth. On the other hand, when you're looking at the performance increases, even though it's $250,000 on the light jets like the Citation jet, the increase in performance and endurance of it actually is worth that cost. Even if the storm cells are above you, you can tilt the weather radar up so that you can get a better picture. This aircraft is certified for flight into known icing. This is a very capable aircraft that flies fast, at high altitude, and over long distances, so it's very important to monitor weather in flight. Besides the radar, this airplane also has ADS-B and satellite weather. With the multiple sources for weather we have in flight, we can get a very good picture while we're flying. I love flying the Chancellor. At these higher altitudes, you've got less turbulence and amazing views. This aircraft has a great air conditioning and heater, but at 15,500 feet with an outside air temp of -5 Celsius, the inside the cabin is nice and comfortable even without running it. The Chancellor pressurization differential is 5 psi. At 15,000 feet, we have a cabin altitude of 1,500 feet. Compared to some of the planes that I've flown, this plane is holding its pressurization really well. The G600 provides wind speed and direction, which will help you find the most economical altitude to fly. You probably won't believe me when I tell you how economical this plane is running lead of peak, so I'm going to show you the numbers. With the help of a light tailwind, I'm getting 205 knots ground speed and burning only 26 gallons per hour. All of the cylinder head temps are low, and TIT is below 1600. So 7 people, 235 miles an hour. Calculate that, comes out to 28 cents per person per mile. I think I got that right. The Cessna 414A is a very stable airplane, which makes it a great IFR platform. It's also very predictable and easy to maneuver. The control forces are stable and light, even in things like steep turns, compared to some other low-wing aircraft. Although we didn't need them, we deployed the spoilers in flight so you could see them in operation. Now this is another of our performance upgrades. We've got a spoiler system installed. What this does is when it deploys in flight, it lifts up at 60-degree angle and it helps increase the drag of the wing. This is very important for 2 scenarios. One is if ATC gives you a fast descent, you don't want to be pulling the power back, shock cooling the engines. This allows for much faster descent, or in an emergency when you need to do an emergency descent. The other scenario where these are useful is when you're on the ground and landing and you need to shorten your landing roll. Call them poor man's thrust reversers. This is a worthwhile upgrade. The cost of these are somewhere just under $10,000, plus the labor, which I think is about 40 to 45 hours of installation. We decided to activate the autopilot before our approach. We're letting the autopilot fly the course reversal, but typically we will disconnect it when we turn inbound in order to hand fly it and keep our proficiency.
20, 10, 5, 2, 1.
What a nice, professional, full stall landing, right on the center line, even at night. And pull it in 5 feet from the hangar while turning on a dime. So my original thank you video didn't come out quite right, and I want to make sure that I give you a proper thank you, so I'm going to try again. I want to say thank you for taking the time to watch our video today. We appreciate if you take a chance to like the video and also take a moment to comment below, as that helps grow our channel. Additionally, if you would like to subscribe to our channel, you'll get notification for future videos that we post. And I highly recommend, if you haven't already, to watch our Chancellor video. It is the most detailed out there. We've got the link here and also down in the description below. How's that?